Hello friends, welcome to my channel Clinical Biochemistry by Dr. P.K. Prabhakar. Today we are going to talk about different types of diabetes. Normally, whenever we are talking about diabetes, we thought about we are talking about diabetes mellitus. But there are many different types of diabetes we are having. So we are going to see various different types of diabetes and basic criteria, basic information about those diabetes. So, what is the literal meaning of diabetes? The literal meaning of diabetes, whenever we are going to use word diabetes, it means polyuria, means multiple time of mixed urinations, means more than the normal person urination will be there. That is called as diabetes. So basically, diabetes is going to be classified into two broad category. That is called as diabetes insipidus and diabetes mellitus. Their basic both are the abnormality which is going to cause mainly because of hormones. So diabetes insipidus is caused because of a hormone that is called as ADH, anti-diuretic hormones, and diabetes mellitus is caused because of the abnormality in the insulin, that is a peptide hormone. Now, first we are going to see diabetic insipidus. This is the normal structure, picture of our glomerulus, or you can call it nephron. How urine is going to form in our kidney? We are having various sections. So this section is called as Bowman's capsule glomerulus. Then we are having loop of Fenley proximal convoluted tubules. This is proximal convoluted tubules, loop of Fenley, distal convoluted tubules, and collecting ducts. Normal GFR rate here, the filtration rate is 125 ml per minute. So at that particular rate, daily our kidney is going to filter roughly 180 liters of urine. Means here filtrate 180 liter of filtrate will form, but we are not going to urinate that much. The normal urination will be roughly 1.5 to 2 liter in a day. So 177 liter or 177.8 liter of filtrate is going to be reabsorbed back, and that reabsorption will be mainly done by ADH hormone. So we require ADH hormones, antidiuretic hormones, for the water reabsorptions. How this reabsorption occurs? So that is we are going to see the mechanism of that one. What is the how this ADH hormone works? So this ADH hormone, whenever we are having, is going to be through blood circulation. It comes to the kidney, and this is the wall of this wall is composed of cells. So these are the different cells. In these cells, we are having basal layer and apical layer. On the basal layer, we are having a B2 type of receptor, which is normally 7 transmembrane helix receptors. So ADH hormone binds to this receptor and activates adenylate cyclase. Adenylate cyclase converts cyclic AMP, and this cyclic AMP ultimately works on this vesicle. This is called as aquaporin vesicles. We have different types of aquaporin: type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. Four different types of aquaporins we are having, but only type 2 aquaporin is uh, moved from this cytoplasmic vesicle to the apical membrane of this kidney. So this aquaporin, which is depending on the cyclic AMP, so more cyclic AMP, more movement of aquaporin 2 on the apical membrane, and through this aquaporin 2 water, which 180 liter water is here, that will be reabsorbed back into the blood circulations. So if we are having ADH, we can reabsorb more water, so urine will be urine excretion, urination will be in the controlled manner. In case we don't have this ADH, so no ADH, no cyclic AMP. If you don't have cyclic AMP, this aquaporin will not be move here. And if aquaporin will not move here, water reabsorption will not there. And water reabsorption will not be there, so urine will form more than the normal. So if a person is having a deficiency of ADH, or their ADH does not works, in that case person will have more urination. So this is diabetes insipidus, which is caused because of the deficiency or abnormality in ADH hormones functions. This is how this ADH works in water homeostasis. Whenever we are having water level drops, means less water is there in our body, means we have been dehydrated. So in that case, body hypothalamus detects high concentration of solutes is there, blood is more concentrated, less water is there. In that case, pituitary produces more ADH, so more water reabsorption will be there. So urine formation will be suppressed. Less urine output will be there because body needs water. So more water will be retained in our body and urine will be less produced. In opposite fashions, whenever water level rises, means I have taken more water, or so in that case we don't want to retain water. So pituitary releases less amount of ADH and more urine output will be there. So this is how this ADH works. So first, pituitary produces vasopressin, or this ADH is also called as vasopressin. This vasopressin comes, it binds to this apical membrane of V2 receptors. That is, it ultimately activates cyclic AMP. It gives cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP works on this storage vesicles where we are having aquaporin 2 water pores and channels. So because of this cyclic AMP, this aquaporin 2 moves onto the uh, apical membrane. So as soon as aquaporin 2 moves here, water, which is 180 liter water here in 24 hours, so that will be taken back into the blood circulation. This is the normal function. So water reabsorption, this is called as water reabsorption. So water reabsorption is regulated by ADH hormone. We have different types of abnormality in the uh, ADH functions. So we have different types of diabetes insipidus. Like we have central diabetes insipidus, where disruption of the neurohypophyseal neurons or mutation in the ABP. So pituitary ABP release has been dropped. If this is going to be released, this pituitary ABF release will be dropped. So this may also causes diabetes insipidus, means more urinary output will be there. Second one is new nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, where ABP, vasopressin, decreased response will be there. We have sufficient amount of hormones, but response, binding, and their activity will be suppressed. So then also we are having more urine output, less absorption will be there. That is also diabetes insipidus, but this is nephrogenic, where responsiveness of the vasopressin has been suppressed. And third one is gestational diabetes insipidus, where excessive activity of placental vasopressinase. So this vasopressinase going to digest, degrade vasopressins. So ultimately no vasopressin will be there, or less vasopressin will be there, and ultimately more urine output will be there. So we have three different type of diabetes insipidus: central diabetes insipidus, nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, and gestational diabetes insipidus. Now, second category is diabetes mellitus. Diabetes means more urination and mellitus means sweet urine. So whenever body produces or we excreted sweet urine, that is called as diabetes insipidus. This sweet urine is caused because of more glucose or more carbohydrate monosaccharides into the urine. So how we are going to regulate why this glucose comes into the urine? So the level of glucose in our body is normally regulated by a hormone that is called as insulin. This insulin is produced by pancreatic beta cells. Now, this is a cell. This you can consider as a cell. On these cells, we are having a glucose channel. Glucose entry for the glucose, that is called as glucose channel. In short form, we are going to call it GLUT. So we have different types of GLUT, like 1 to 14 different types of GLUT, but only GLUT4 is depending on the insulin. So this is a channel, this is a gate for glucose entry into the cells. Whenever insulin comes and binds to this insulin receptors, this gate will be open. Normally this channel is closed, means normally this GLUT4 will be here. So as soon as insulin binds, this will move here and gate will be open, and then glucose enters. This is how normal function of insulin. Now, if this insulin, either we don't have this insulin, either we are lacking this insulin, or we have insulin but insulin not able to work there. So in both the cases we are having diabetes. So we have different types of diabetes. So we are going to talk about the first category of diabetes, type 1 diabetes mellitus. This is normally type 1 diabetes mellitus. This is normal functions. We know that in a healthy person, pancreas is going to produce insulin, sufficient amount of insulin depending on how much glucose we are having. So pancreas produces, releases insulin. Insulin walks on the cells, and ultimately glucose will be utilized by our body, by our cells. But whenever a person is having type 1 diabetes mellitus, in that case, pancreatic beta cells is going to be damaged. So body pancreatic beta cells is damaged or destroyed because of any reason. So less or no insulin will be produced. If we don't have insulin, so entry of glucose is going to be slowed down, or it will be not, no entry will be there. So glucose will not be entered into the cells, and glucose will be, more glucose will be present into the blood circulation. So that rises glucose level into the blood, and it leads to hyperglycemia conditions. That is type 1 diabetes mellitus. Normally, in case of type 1 diabetes mellitus, pancreatic beta cells is going to be damaged. So we have less insulin productions, and normally type 1 diabetic persons patients depends on the external glucose, sorry, external insulin. So that's why they are also called as insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Second one is type 2 diabetes mellitus. In case of type 2 diabetes mellitus, we are having sufficient amount of insulin is going to be produced by our body, but only thing is insulin not able to bind, not able to work in efficient manner. So in previous case, in case of type 1 diabetes mellitus, we have insufficient insulin. In case of type 2, sorry, insufficient insulin because no sufficient insulin was produced. In case of type 2, we are having inefficient insulin, means insulin is there, but they are not working efficiently. Whatever function, what, how they have to do their functions, they are not able to do their function. So here insulin is there. So this type of persons, this type of patients does not depends on external insulin. So they are no insulin independent, or you can call it non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. The third category of diabetes mellitus we are having, that is called as gestational diabetes mellitus. This gestational diabetes mellitus, in short form, we are going to call it GDM, which is normally diagnosed higher than the average blood glucose level during the first trimester of the pregnancy. Roughly 3 to 8% of the pregnant women will develop gestational diabetes mellitus around 24th to 28th week of pregnancy. However, some ladies also develops it into the earlier cases, means not in the 24th to 28th week, but before that one also. In this case, because of during pregnancy, many hormonal imbalances are there. Because of those hormonal imbalances, glucose level rises in our body. So in the pregnant women, as soon as parturition will be there, baby will be taken birth, so glucose level will be normal. So this is a conditional diabetes mellitus where glucose level rises during the pregnancy, but it may affect the glucose metabolic process in the newborn baby as well. As so baby may be obese, and it may affect other kind of abnormality in the baby. So this is called as gestational diabetes mellitus. Third category of diabetes, next category of diabetes mellitus is called as type 1.5 diabetes mellitus. What is this type 1.5 diabetes mellitus is? This is also called as double diabetes, or called as hybrid diabetes. Why it is called as double diabetes, which why it is called as hybrid diabetes? Later on we will, once we will understand, we can I will you will understand that what is the name of significance of this one. Sometimes this type 1.5 is also called as latent autoimmune diabetes in adults. This or it is called as LADA. LADA means latent autoimmune disorder in adults. LADA is a form of type 1 diabetes that develops later into the adulthood, because normally we know that type 1 diabetes mellitus occurs in the before youngness of the age, and type 2 diabetes normally occurs later age stage of the lifespan, means in old people, adult people. But this type 1.5 diabetes or LADA, normally it is a type 1 diabetes mellitus which occurs in adults. So that's why it is named It is mainly caused because of autoimmunity. So it is a type 1 diabetes mellitus, but it occurs later stage of our life in the adults. So that's why that name is there. So LADA tends to develop more slowly than the type 1 diabetes mellitus in the childhood. So it more develop in the adults. So sometimes doctors during the diagnosis they misdiagnose it as a type 2 diabetic mellitus. So in this case, what how this type 1 this LADA occurs is LADA is the development of auto antibodies against pancreatic beta cells. So beta cells will be damaged, or some enzymes is going to be affected also who normally functions in the pancreatic cells. So ultimately, insulin is not sufficiently produced. So there we have two types of LADA, or we will understand about with the examples, that is known as ketone prone diabetes, or second one is LADA. So this type 1.5 we have two types. One is LADA, second one is ketone prone diabetes mellitus. What is the basic difference in these two? That we are going to see it. This type 1.5 diabetes mellitus shares features or characteristic features for both type 1 and type 2 also. So that's why it is in between type 1 and 2. So it is 1.5. It is an autoimmune disease, and is not reversible with change in the diet and lifestyle. And if it will be treated left untreated, it may causes diabetic ketoacidosis. Diabetic ketoacidosis is in case of diabetes mellitus. Normally, body cells are unable to use glucose, so they start utilizing fats, and fat metabolic process normally produces ketone. So that is called as diabetic ketosis. And ketone body metabolic process normally affects our body. In case of this one, two stages are there. I have told you, one is ketone prone diabetes, and second one is LADA. So rough in first example is normally 15 to 25 year of age, a person is there who is having 25 year of age, and he is having diabetic ketoacidosis. So normally it will be treated as type 1 diabetes mellitus. Slowly, after 10 to 15 years of diabetes mellitus after diagnosis, their insulin dependency, because it is type 1 diabetes mellitus, so normally they will take insulin, but slowly their dependency on the insulin decreases. So as soon as insulin dependency decreases, so they becomes type 2 diabetic mellitus, because they don't require insulin now. So initially it was type 1 diabetic mellitus, and slowly it tends to insulin independent, that is type 2 diabetic mellitus. So because it starts with type 1 and later on move to type 2 diabetic mellitus. So we are going to put it in between. So it is called as type 1.5 diabetic mellitus, and it starts with diabetic ketosis. So that's why it is called as ketone prone diabetes. So any young ones who had diabetic ketoacidosis, so it will be understand that it will be recognized, it will be diagnosed as type 1 diabetes mellitus, and slowly it will move towards type 2 diabetes mellitus. Means it starts with type 1 and then move towards type 2. So that is called as ketone prone diabetes. Second example is a old age, a young ones have normal high random blood sugars. So it will be diagnosed as type 2 diabetes mellitus, and they will go for OHD, oral hypoglycemic drugs. Slowly, after 10 to 15 years, start requiring they needs insulin and becomes insulin dependent. Slowly, so it starts with OHD type 2 and it moves towards insulin dependency, means type 1 diabetes mellitus. So initially it was type 2, and slowly it moves to type 1 diabetes mellitus. So here also we are going to call it type 1.5 diabetes mellitus, and this is called as latent autoimmune diabetes in the adults. So LADA. So type 1.5 we have two types, ketone prone and LADA. So if you see the different sign and symptoms of type 1, type 2, and double diabetes. So this is that's why because this is also because of these features only, it shares the features characteristic of type 1 and type 2 also. So this is called as hybrid or double diabetes. So in case of type 1, you can see it is having it is called because of autoantibodies. It is having weight loss, polydipsia, polyuria, ketoacidosis, and it requires insulin therapy. Type 2, Dyslipidemia, hypertension, increased BMI because obesity will be there, family history of type 1 and type 2, increased cardiovascular risk because of more lipid content, and double diabetes, both having autoimmunity as well as insulin dependency. So this is double diabetes. Now another category is there that is called as diabetes mellitus type 3. This diabetes mellitus type 3 is related to Alzheimer's disease. So it is proposed for Alzheimer's disease which results from resistance to insulin in the brain. So if our brain cell is going to be resistant for insulin, it is called as type 3 diabetes mellitus. So type 3 is there is a relationship between the Alzheimer's disease and type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus. So this is not exactly type 3, but it is some literature, some calls they are called type 3 diabetes. So in type 2 and type 3 diabetes, the body becomes less sensitive to insulin. So this is here brain, in case of type 3, brain becomes insulin resistant, so they are not able to utilize glucose, and brain normally utilizes 20% of our glucose. So if brain does not use glucose, brain will not get any kind of energy source. So cell becomes insensitive, cell will be irresponsive. So people will have loss in memory, reasoning power, judgment, that. So that all these features are part of Alzheimer's disease. So it starts with insulin resistance, not able to utilize glucose, and ultimately Alzheimer's is there. So both type 2 and type 3 are caused because of insulin resistance. So insulin is there, but they are not able to work there. We have another last type of diabetes mellitus that is called as bronze diabetes mellitus. Yeah, bronze diabetes you can call it. Hemochromatosis is a condition in which the body absorbs excess iron from the food. So whenever we will get more iron from the food, so that leads to bronze diabetes. This condition is caused by a faulty genes and can lead to gradual damage to the number of organs. This hematochromatosis is sometimes referred to as bronze diabetes because it can lead to darkening of the skin, and hyperglycemia will be there. So bronze diabetes gets its name from the bronze hue of the skin that results in the accumulation of iron in the body, because more iron will be absorbed, and those irons will be accumulated in the body, especially into the skins. So skin color will be looks like bronze color or yellowish brown color. So that's why it is called as bronze diabetes. So this is all about different types of diabetes. Hope you have understand it. If you're not subscribed my channel, please subscribe it. So thank you very much. Have a nice day.